Today we're taking a look at a brand new tool-changing printer from Flashforge, the Creator 5. Supporting up to 4 filaments, each with its own dedicated nozzle and hot end, this printer drastically reduces both the amount of filament wasted on color changes and the time it takes to print multi-material models. Let's dive into the box and get started. The Creator 5 is nicely packaged with plenty of foam and comes mostly assembled. Taptic supervisor cat Comet quickly jumped into action to inspect the box, and it was given a 5-claw rating. The accessories are neatly placed at the top. Included is a standard IEC power cable, the front display and controller, 4 filament holders, and a pack of assorted screws and grease for maintenance. You can also see the 4 pre-assembled hot ends all lined up in the middle. They've got both the wiring harness and PTFE tubes nicely arranged. First, I'll start by installing the front display. This is pretty much just plug and play, no exposed ribbon cables to worry about, and 2 M36 screws secure the display to the frame. Next up, I got distracted looking at how this is all laid out. The hot ends have their own parking areas with 2 metal rods for alignment. There are circular holes in the panel that expose the inside of the chassis, and I assume these holes allow the hot end fans to breathe when idling. The tool head is robust. I wasn't expecting this level of machine quality, to be honest. A solid aluminum plate covers the drive gear to interface with the hot ends. Part cooling is still present, just with a downward-facing fan, a unique and interesting design that probably allows for a bit more even cooling compared to side or front-mounted fans. Maybe. Now to the filament holders. These should all be installed facing outward from the printer. Their mounting slots have a beauty sticker over them that should be removed prior to installing. These are secured with the longer M314 screws. And these can be installed backwards, but it prevents the filament from feeding easily. Trust me, I tried. Back from his third lunch break, Inspector Comet has returned to check my progress. Now to the hot ends. These have been pre-assembled into a single body so that all 4 are connected at the same time. The alignment of this is a little tricky at first, but once you find that sweet spot, it locks into place with a satisfying click. Before placing the hot ends into their positioning posts, I'll install these nozzle blockers. These appear to be little flexible silicone tabs that prevent the nozzle from oozing during preheating and cool down. These just comfortably click into their designated spots. The hot end placement is super easy. Just line up the 2 positioning posts and push until the magnet catches. Each extruder has a single large neodymium magnet that keeps it firmly held in to what I'm going to be calling the hot end pen. Even though Flashforge refers to this as the extruder dock, I prefer more farm-related terminology. The whole assembly has a single USB-C cable that runs over to the extruder mount or tool head. This cable is then secured with 2 self-tapping 2.9 by 9.5 millimeter screws. A very important step, removing the 3 bedlock screws. These long screws keep the bed locked to the printer body during shipping and would probably cause a horrible sound if you forgot to remove them, so all 3 of the center screws need to be removed in order to free the bed. Finally, time to power up. I'll connect the power cable and flick the switch on the side to get things started. The lights on the hot ends come on with a nice green glow, and the main LED light bar illuminated in a cold bluish white. Okay, the flickering thing. This isn't at all visible to the human eye, but the camera is currently set at 1/60th of a second, and it's not getting along well with this LED, which is flickering at 100 Hz. Bumping the camera up to 1/100th of a second stops the flickering. Going higher or lower makes it visible again. Just a weird thing that stood out. The rest of this video will be at 1/100th of a second, but you won't even notice. The first menu to appear is the language selection. I'll choose English for this one. Machine calibration immediately warns you to remove those 3 bed locking screws. Since I read the user manual, I'll click OK. Action. The printer goes into its standard homing procedure. The tool head moves to the front left for the X and Y homing, then raises the bed to home the Z axis. Leveling happens right after that. The tool head actually has its own probe. It looks to be just a solid piece of aluminum. This sits just slightly higher than the nozzle, but I'm sure I'll come back to figure that out later. An interesting surprise, it asks you to remove the build plate. This reveals a strange metal circle cut into the magnet on the back left of the build plate. This seems to be what it uses to calibrate the nozzle offsets. It proceeded to do a little dance with the probe and then went and grabbed hot end number 1 and repeated the process. Once it was done with that, it put that hot end away and grabbed number 2, and then it repeated this process for all 4 hot ends. Loading the filament is super easy. The spool gets set on its holder and routed into the marked slot. I was worried that I'd have to heat each nozzle to load it, but no, just squeezing the cutting arm for the extruder and pushing the filament further in locks it into place. Flashforge says that as long as it doesn't pull out easily, it's loaded. Next, I'll select the filament on the display. The list of available filaments is somewhat limited, and it doesn't have PLA Pro or PLA Plus or any of the other variants. So I'll choose the closest one to this PLA Plus, which is PLA. Then I'll choose the color. When filament is loaded, it does perform a purge of the old. This is one of the first weird design decisions I've noticed. There really isn't anywhere for the purge to go other than to the floor or the bottom of the printer. This isn't overly wasteful or anything, I just wish it would fall into something dedicated to catching it. The poop from single nozzle printers at least bunches up into a little blob. This one is just long strands. But it's okay, it has to purge out the old color somehow, and this is a method that works. Time to get printing. The first thing I want to print is this multicolored low poly calico cat. The first thing I ever 3D printed way back on my Ender 3 was a low poly cat, so I think this is a pretty fitting first print for the Creator 5. I left everything as the default and hit print. Looks like it does an initial purge for newly detected colors prior to the print, which is probably a good thing, especially when I'm using white as one of the primary colors for this model. I can already tell I'm going to be stuck watching this for a while, mostly with amazement. The printer finishes with a color, briefly builds the prime tower up a bit, and automatically switches to the next nozzle for a new color. The printer also detects which color is coming up next and preheats that hot end to printing temperature, so there's virtually no delay when changing. This printer was absolutely flying through the print. Nozzle changes were fast, layers were precise, and colors had absolutely no bleeding. Even between the black and white filament, since they're separate hot ends entirely, there wasn't a speck of blending going on. And the tool changing still had me glued to the printer like I was watching my favorite TV show. We'll review all the prints a little later in the video, but for now I'm already on to the next one, SpongeBob's house. I've scaled this print down to about 50% to hold some cute little succulents I have. This is awesome. The supports looked incredible with all the different filaments mixing together. And again, it came out quick and free of major defects. I'll fill this with some dirt and put a tiny pineapple-like succulent inside, give it a little water and clean it up. No slowing down here, another print is already on the bed. This one wasn't so lucky, and I think it really showcases how critical the prime tower is for tool changing printers. The prime tower collapsed about halfway into this print, and as a result, filaments started flying. I probably could have let it continue, then do some cleanup post-print, but I decided to stop it to avoid the mess for later. This one was on me though, I had the wrong bed temperature set. The Creator 5 moves a lot during printing. It's on vibration dampening feet, but it still needs a sturdy shelf. This is one of the trade-offs that you get with high-speed printing, but the lack of stability doesn't impact the printer in any way. I always love to reference Emily the engineer's video on stability where she hung an Ender 3 from the ceiling and it turned out perfectly fine. Now onto the big print. I'm making the Red Bull display box from the Patient Maker on MakerWorld. This print consists of 3 fully loaded plates, each with at least one color change every single layer. On the Bamboo P1S, this print takes 63 hours and 9 minutes with 896 total filament changes, using a whopping 1,102 grams of material. The Creator 5 knocks it out of the park at only 45 hours and 10 minutes, 779 grams of material used, and 0 filament changes. The piece is printed great, and I'll get into the assembly shortly, but first let's take a look at some of the other prints that I made earlier and compare some details. So the first thing that I printed on the Creator 5 was this adorable 3-color calico cat. It printed perfectly, and it created quite a large prime tower. Now this prime tower actually weighs more than the print itself, which required a little bit of tuning in later prints. You can actually scale down the size of the prime tower so it's not using quite as much material. One of the next things that I printed was this adorable little SpongeBob house. This is for a succulent. It's scaled down to about 50% of the normal size just because I have some very tiny succulents that I want to put in there. And it created a much smaller, much lighter prime tower than before. One of the cooler things that I printed is this Altera Arm survival knife. You might recognize this from Subnautica, but not from Subnautica 2 because the developers have completely forgotten to put in any form of weaponry or defense against fishes in that new game. This one's quite interesting because the handle is a different material from the rest of it. While most of it is a combination of PLA matte and PLA silk for the blade, the handle is actually printed in 95A TPU. This gives it a slight flex and a little bit of grippiness to it, though the surface finish is not quite what I would want for something with TPU on it, though that might just be a settings thing. Overall, turned out really cool. Nice little survival knife. Another thing I printed is a Minecraft TNT block to show off the differences with color bleed. You'll notice on single extruder ones, if you don't have the right purge amount, the black tends to bleed into the white as it goes around and the color finish is changing. This one, because it's using two independent nozzles for the different colors, you don't get any color bleed on it and the quality is absolutely superb. The prime tower for this one, quite small as well. Not much to report here, kind of looks like a miniature TNT in itself. One neat thing I found while searching around was this tiny calibration cube that prints each letter in a different color and goes through almost entirely. So there's a cutaway here in the top corner that actually shows all the colors are coming through for the different letters and combining in the middle. Looks really cool and created a prime tower that is pretty much the same size as the object. Then I created a slew of different benchies. One of my favorites is the USA Super America Benchy. This one actually has white stars that lead through it, which is kind of impressive. And it created a pretty small prime tower. I went ahead and scaled this one down to about 10 millimeter volume. This is another cool benchy. It's a multicolor where just the bezels and edges of the boat are in a different color, as well as the deck of the boat. The interesting thing here is that this is almost a color change every single layer. So on the regular bamboo printer, this one takes quite a long time, upwards of 2 or more hours. On the Creator 5, it can put this out in roughly about an hour actually. Then I printed it again, this time in glow-in-the-dark PLA, just because you can. On the Creator 5, all 4 nozzles that are included with it are hardened steel, so they are fully ready for abrasive, carbon fiber, glass fill, all kinds of different materials. Finally, time to assemble this masterpiece. This model consists of 43 printed parts, 26 magnets, and 2 metal rods. I'll start by sliding the 2 rods into the base of the can. The back panel is split into numbers like 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. From there, each piece has a number printed on it, and it alternates left to right up the entire length. And it's really coming together now and starting to look like a real can, and it fits together really well. The top has 2 alignment pins that need to be glued in place. The designer mentioned that you should allow the glue to fully dry so it doesn't accidentally seal to the top arms, but I live life on the edge, so we're placing this right on top. The last step are the magnets. These 8x2mm magnets need to be glued in place. These are a little tricky as they want to jump when they get close to their neighbor. So this time I suppose waiting for the glue to dry for more than a few seconds is a good idea. Then the opposite side needs to be placed, being careful about magnet alignment. And it's done. It's beautiful. A fully functional Red Bull display can thing. I love it. It opens and closes so satisfyingly, and it stores all the way up to the larger Red Bull sized cans. Having the Creator 5 saved me a full 18 hours of printing time on this model, and I saved over 300 grams worth of filament. This printer handled abrasive filament, flexible filament, and regular old PLA all at the same time. It's got some awesome smart features too, like preheating the next nozzle before tool change, full 30 frames per second camera feed, and some surprisingly fast bed heating. If I were to change one thing, and really only one thing comes to mind, it would be an enclosure. The Creator 5 Pro does include both doors and a lid for the printer, and while the standard Creator 5 has proven that it doesn't need them, it would be nice to keep the temperature more consistent and reduce overall printer noises. It's a fantastic printer, and anyone looking into multicolor and multi-material printing should absolutely be keeping their eye on Flashforge. Also, a big shout out to my patrons, subscribers, and everybody else watching this video. I'll see you next time.